So once your sculpt is finished, you're going to make a flat mold out of it, which is like basically a dump mold. So what you do is you create like a retaining wall around the sculpture, and then you fill it with silicone to cover it all, that being the highest part, which will be the deepest part of the mold. For me, I mean, you can build up walls out of the clay itself, but I was kind of struggling to do that. So I like just using like plastic containers. So I found this deep plastic bowl, just in like Woolworths, and what I'm gonna do is cut out the top of it to create like a wall to go around it. Okay, so once you have this, you have your retaining wall. And you're going to want to stick down the edges so that the silicone can't escape underneath. And so you can use like a hot glue gun. I used blue tacks, just kind of stuck blue tack, and basically all around the outside of this, so the blue tack adhered it down and kept the silicone from leaking out. I'm not going to do it again because the pour used up so much of my silicone. I don't actually have enough left to do it, and it's really expensive in Australia, so I think it cost me like $25 to make the mold. Used about a third of my silicone. So I'm just going to go through basically what I did. So once you've got all the blue tack and it's adhered down, I'm going to use a release spray, and there's lots of different kinds of release spray. I'm using Stoner Rapid Release because that's what I found here. And basically you want to be in a well-ventilated area, and you're going to spray all around inside the mold to make sure that the silicone will release it once you're done. And I used my scale, which likes to be really shit a lot of the time. And you're not going to use any Deadener for this because you want it to be a hard mold. Yeah, just use equal parts of Platsil Gel-10 A and B, and I do it by weight. I ended up using about, I think it was 330 grams. I had to, there's a mathematical way you can work out exactly how much you're going to need to fill the space, but I am lazy. So I think I did it for like 200 first, and then I had to do like another 100, then I had to do another 30, so I ended up mixing it up 3 times. But yeah, it used me about 330 grams. It took me about 330 grams of this to fill it. And when you pour it in, you want to do like a little layer first, and wearing gloves, you're going to push the silicone around into all of the crevices to make sure that there's no air pockets that make your detail disappear. Once you've got that initial layer down, you're going to pour the rest of it. I find it easier to pour it from like a little bit of a higher height, like if you can get it from like 30 centimeters up, a couple of feet up, that will help you to not have as many air bubbles. So you pour the silicone until it is completely covering. I ended up only just covering the highest point by about, I think it was a couple of millimeters, which actually made it easier to release it because then it's not as thick and I can kind of wriggle it around to release it. But yeah, and then you leave that for 30 minutes. And then to demold it, I took scissors and I cut down the edge of this so that it was easier to take the whole thing off. And I'll show you what the mold looks like. Okay, so this is what my finished mold ended up looking like. So when I took it out, took it off, the deepest part of the sculpture actually broke off into that pocket, but it came out pretty easily, just like, because that's where the thinnest part is there, just kind of like pushing it on that helped get it all out. And that's the finished mold, so it's pretty thick. But otherwise, didn't really have too many problems, luckily. Bit of a gamble when you have undercuts or places that can get locked in, like when you're trying to remove it, which is what that deep pocket is. Alright, now I'll show you how to fill it. So first of all, we're going to release the mold. I'm going to use Vaseline and Stoner's Rapid Release Spray. So for the Vaseline, I'm going to put a coating over everything and making sure that I even get it into the deepest cheek part, which I will do with a cotton tip. I'm going to use a tissue and I'm going to go over it and just kind of mop up most of the excess Vaseline. And once that's done, I'm going to spray Stoner's Rapid Release. I'm going to kind of lift up the pocket of the cheek and spray it in there, and then spray it over the rest of the mold and leave that for a little while. When I come back to this, I'm going to give the mold a light coating of baby powder, which should help the cap plastic to not have so much of a shine when I apply it. So you can kind of put it into a pile to the side and dip your brush in, or just pour it over. It's probably too much to do that though. And then distribute it evenly across the surface. So to make the cap plastic, I'm using super Baldiez. Oh fuck. And it needs to be watered down, alcohol down. It needs to be diluted with alcohol. And for regular Baldiez, it's acetone. And different people have different amounts that they dilute it depending on how they're going to apply it. So because for me, I'm using a brush, I can have it a little bit thicker, whereas if you're airbrushing it, it needs to be a lot thinner. And so for me, the thickness that I'm going to do is 50% super Baldiez and 50% 99% isopropyl alcohol. And I just kind of measure this out roughly, so I'm going to use this little container that I keep it in. It's quite thick. Got that much super Baldiez. I'm just gonna like look at where the line is and just try and fill it up. Just a double lip. Okay. And now I'm just gonna mix it together. So I've got a mixture here of 50% super Baldiez and 50% isopropyl alcohol, and I'm going to paint it on with a brush. And since this is the first layer, I'm going to put it over everywhere, and when putting it into the deepest pocket, one option is to like pour it in, swirl it around, pour it out again. I'm just going to kind of shove my paintbrush in there and twirl it around and hope it gets coated, but that part isn't the most important part to have cap plastic on it. The most important part is around the edges where it's going to be blended out. And I'm going to leave the cap plastic to dry for a pretty long time because that deepest pocket, the first time I ran some silicone through this, the deepest pocket hadn't dried properly, but I couldn't really tell because I can't see it. So I'm going to leave this for maybe like 6 to 8 hours. Usually I'll do it like twice a day. If it's warmer, maybe 3 times a day, to let the cap plastic just dry naturally by itself, and hopefully all the way through. Okay, so I've got 3 layers of cap plastic on here now that are fully dried. Now to fill it, you're going to need a few supplies. First of all, you're going to need a scale to measure the weight of the silicone that you're putting in there. You're going to need your silicones. Where are mine? So I've got Platsil Gel-10 by Moulding. I've used Barnes as well, they're good. So I've got both A and B. I've got a Deadener, and again it's Moulding's Deadener. You're going to want to pigment it with silicone pigments. I'm going to do mostly Moulding's Flesh silicone pigment and with a tiny bit of brown silicone pigment. You are going to want one of these like flexible metal filling knife spatula things, whatever they're called, and to scrape the mold. You're going to want to be wearing gloves and have these wooden tongue decompressors or wax spatulas, one for each silicone and the Deadener, so you need 3. You're also going to want Zippo lighter fluid and cotton tips to help remove excess silicone from the outside, and a plastic cup to mix it all in. Alright, let's do this. So first of all, don't hit the camera. So to work out, there are mathematical formulas that you can use to work out exactly how much silicone you need, but for like a little tiny job like this, I'm just gonna like guess. Just kind of go for what's easy. Oh, and with your gloves, you have to make sure that they don't have latex in them, because latex and silicone do not play well, and if you have latex gloves, the silicone will probably not cure, and the uncured silicone will sit inside your mold as a goopy, sticky mess. Alright, so I'm going to start with Platsil Gel-10A. I'm going to get this to sit at 0 with the cup there. So I'm going to grab a second cup because sometimes this is enough. Alright, so sitting at 0, I'm going to aim for about 10 grams. I've got my spatula. For this I'm just going to like scoop it out. kind of let it drip in there. The scale is a bit shit. 10. Okay, good. I'm gonna put in B. 10 as well. So this is done by weight or by, the way the same, so it's by weight or by like milliliters or whatever you use to measure that. It's just the same amount, 50% of each. A tiny bit more. Oh, no, it's 20. Okay, cool. Now, I'm also going to add Deadener. Okay, so I was just doing like 50%, but someone said I could kick it up to 180% if I want to. It's like pretty hard for me to measure out when it's a small amount. I feel like 40 grams is enough to fill it all. Let's see how we go. Okay, just make this clean. And it's decided to turn off. Well, that is brilliant. Thank you, scale. You are awesome. Okay, let's just get this in here again. So that is at 51 grams. Okay. And I'm going to use the same stick that I used for the Deadener to mix it all. So I'm going to put in pigments. Just put a couple of drops of this. And start putting in just a tiny amount of brown. Okay, let's try that. Now I'm going to mix it all really thoroughly. Okay, so it's looking pretty good. What I'm going to do, because it's got this really deep lip in here, I should actually check that it's properly dried. Okay, is I'm going to pour it from a higher, rather than pouring it from down here, I'm going to pour it a little bit higher up so that it doesn't have as many air bubbles in it. I'm going to kind of like slosh it around in that deepest part. And I'm going to try and pour it out again and then pour it a second time. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, getting shit everywhere. Okay, let's try that for now. Oh my god, what am I doing? Okay. So, leave that to sit for a minute. I kind of like to squish it and move it around in there a little bit. And press the bottom. Then I'm going to pour it out just into my cup again. Okay, so not all of it comes out, but just some of it comes out. I'm going to pour it over a second time. Okay. Overfill the mold. Just let it sit there for a minute. Just kind of squish it again. Squish, squish. I'm going to get my little filling knife. I'm going to scrape over it to get rid of that excess silicone. Don't push too hard because you can disrupt the cap plastic, which I have done pretty much every time I've tried to do this. Made the cap plastic bubble up and detach. I'm trying to be gentler this time. Okay. I'll wipe this clean so the silicone doesn't stick. Now, so it probably looks like most of the silicone's been scraped off, but the idea of the cap plastic is to completely dissolve it away, and if there's little tiny trace amounts of silicone on them, it won't be dissolved away, and you won't get a very good edge. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this Zippo lighter fluid because it's got naphtha in it. And I'm going to use that on a cotton the cap plastic is, and just what this does is it dissolves away the silicone. So if there are any trace amounts of silicone on here, you can get rid of them to get a better edge and nicer cap plastic dissolvability. Have a look where it would be. I can see there's actually quite a bit up here. I do that a couple of times just to make sure I really get all of it off. So once this is fully cured, it's going to be quite sticky. You can, yeah, we'll leave that there for now. So what I'm going to do is I don't always put cap plastic on the back of my flat molds because this one has this area here in the middle which has no silicone on it. I found that when I demold it, the silicone tends to break and not hold up. So I'm going to put a layer of cap plastic over the back of it to help kind of reinforce the strength, mostly in the middle, and also have better edges for dissolving. I'm just going to apply it the same way I did before with my brush. And the reason that I usually don't put it on the back is because I found that it can delaminate, not when I'm applying it or taking it out, but when I am removing it from someone's skin. And so basically what that means is you taking off the appliance at the end, you're removing it, and this last layer of cap plastic on the back separates from the silicone and just kind of decides to stay on their skin, which is really annoying because then you have to work extra hard to remove it all. But apparently a trick to help you with delamination is to apply the cap plastic before the silicone is fully set, like when it's almost set but it's still kind of tacky. But I haven't experimented with that yet or found a sweet spot. I just kind of apply it whenever I get a chance. So in this case it's about 12 hours after I poured the silicone. Now that the cap plastic has completely set, I'm going to demold it. So I'm going to start by putting baby powder all over the back of the cap plastic to kind of take away some of the stickiness and the shine, and using the powdered brush I'm going to start working my way underneath one of the edges. And I'm just going to kind of gently work back the edge all the way around the outside first of just the cap plastic. Remember to be gentle and slow when you're doing this. Now with the thinner edge I'm going to start peeling it back and using the brush to kind of push it off the mold and get out any problem areas. So far so good. When we get to the deepest part, the hanging cheek part is when I get a little bit of trouble. So I'm just going to gently kind of work around the underneath edge and turn it over and try and push down on it and wiggle it out. Just really slowly and gently, although this is super fast forwarded. Just kind of wiggle it out and use the brush and the powder to help. But it's got it's pretty flexible, you can pull it pretty hard and it's not going to tear. So you've gotten it out, and this is what the piece looks like. See a little bit of air bubbles underneath, but nothing too bad, nothing that's going to be seen. The middle cap plastic stayed completely intact, and we've got some nice thick edges to blend out. And if you want to look at any of the other videos, I've got the sculpting, painting and application video here as well. Thanks for watching, bye!